So this is Louis, and I would like to talk about what happened in Texas because it reminded me of a few things. So this happened earlier today, and I didn't actually plan on talking about it because I got home from a long day of work, and rather than just go play video games or do whatever, I'm tearing down my deck. It's an old deck that came with the house. And I'm going to be polishing up the cement patio that was underneath the deck. And there's cement stairs there as well, which I'm grateful for because that would have cost me a few grand if they weren't there. But tearing down my old deck to fix up the patio so I have that in my backyard rather than the shitty old deck. And rather than go play some video games and, use that as my means of catharsis and stress relief from a bad day of work on a Saturday, I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to be productive. And I spent about an hour and a half after eating dinner with my parents. I came back home, and for an hour and a half, I took all the wood that was left over from tearing down the deck, and it's not completely torn down. I'm doing the rest of that tomorrow. I took all the wood that I had accumulated, and I threw it in a trailer that my parents own that I'm going to use to take over their house and burn a good amount of that wood because they have a big old fire pit over there at my parents' house. And it's better than renting a fucking dumpster and doing it the conventional way like you normies do. I'd rather take all that wood and burn it, so save me a couple $100. Yeah. I live in a county that's a red county and the sheriffs don't give a fuck, so fuck all of you. Anyone that has any criticism of that. But anyway, so I spent an hour and a half doing that. Then I went for a jog, came home, and my feet are all busted up now because of that. I'm not really sure why, but my feet are all sensitive right now. And so I said, well, I can't really do much more in terms of labor, at least for today, because my feet are busted. And I don't want to play video games because it's just, what I normally do. So instead, I decided I would watch Office Space. And I had last watched Office Space probably like 5 years ago, 4.5, 5 years ago. It's the last time I watched that cult comedy. And I did it at the time because I thought I was going to be fired from an incident that happened when I worked as a guard at Bank of America. And I can name them now because the NDA is long expired and I'm no longer a licensed security guard. So I can just say where I work. I watched Office Space when I thought I was going to get fired after what happened at Bank of America. And I just watched Office Space again because now, even though it's years later, I'm in a new job, or what was at the time a new job, I'm now either going to quit near the end of this year or I'm going to be fired. It's just a matter of which comes first. I don't really know. I just know that the company is upset with me. They've asked for my resignation, and if I have any more trip-ups, I'm going to be gone, most likely. And if that doesn't happen, I'm just going to quit anyways, because like with Office Space, it's just a matter of what is your motivation for working. And such as it was in the movie, I don't actually care anymore about putting in the effort because there is no future. I will do the bare minimum, but I'm not going to do anything more than that. Like, I had some manager call me today talking to me about, oh, do this, do that, do this, do that. And it's like, well, I'm not going to say why would I bother, but that's what I'm thinking the whole time during the call. It's like, why would I bother doing anything? I could do none of that and earn the same amount of money. So why would I do any of that? There is no future for me with this job. And what's funny about this manager is that she knows it. And yet she's telling me anyways, like, yeah, bro, I almost got fired this week. You think I give a fuck about all this shit you're talking to me about? But anyways, the reason I bring this up, I know how this sounds, it's going to sound irrelevant, but the reason I watched Office Space again was because it was cathartic. It's a movie that I've watched a few times in my life, and the last 2 times I've watched it has been when I've come very close to losing my job, and to escape the awful parts of my job, including the fact that it's Saturday, and I worked the entire fucking day today, and it sucked. Despite that fact, I could come home, be productive for at least until my feet pretty much gave out. my soft virginal feet finally gave out, I decided that I'd watch that for the sake of comedy and stress relief and levity. I think that ultimately, when you feel bad, the solution to feeling bad is trying to relax, doing what you can to relax. I wouldn't advise taking a vacation unless you really plan it out, because that's what I tried earlier in the year for stress relief, and it didn't work. I didn't enjoy my time in Florida earlier this year, but I would advise simple steps instead to find a means for catharsis or relaxation. I would not advise going on the internet, going on image boards, and trying to be an edgy douchebag. I really don't think that if you are in a bad state of mind that the internet helps you outside of entertainment, levity, comedy, and things that can help make you feel better, not things that make you more stressed out or make you feel worse. Those things exist online, but you should avoid those things if you feel bad. If you feel bad, you should try to feel better. And there's many ways that you can try to alleviate your bad feelings. But going on image boards and dealing with really scummy, evil people that are internet junkies that spend every waking moment of their life obsessed with what's going on online, I would stay away from those people, because for my entire adult life, I have stayed away from image boards and those kind of places, because I recognize that those kind of places are filled with pathetic, lonely losers that are trying to use their animosity and their nihilism towards the world as a means of trying to deal with the world. I find them mostly to be sad. I don't really hate them. I have kind of a hard time feeling sorry for them, because I do regard them as fairly evil, and the positions that they're in are mainly due to their own inability to not be internet junkies. My point, though, is that I would advise you to spend time away from social media, away from image boards, away from being online, and spend more time outside, spend more time in real life, spend time with family and friends and those that, care about you. And if you don't have family, you don't have friends and whatnot, then I would advise you to look around, in some cases online, to see what you could find for people that would share your beliefs, share your interests, your hobbies. Try to meet up with them. Try to involve yourself in other things, and especially in things you care about, like gaming or whatever your hobby is. There's groups out there, there's people out there that share your interests. The other day, I was in a 7-Eleven, and I saw some guy wearing a necklace of that skull, whatever it's called, from The Witcher. I'll show a picture, I guess. And I said, "Hey, is that from The Witcher?" He said, "Yeah, I'm a big fan." I said, "So what do you think about Cyberpunk 2077? We had like a 25-minute conversation about Cyberpunk 2077, because he's a big CD Projekt Red fan, and I'm a gamer, so I obviously had an opinion. I think it's good to interact with people, even strangers, from time to time, to keep touch with the fact that most people around you are not evil people. They don't wish you ill, or they're not working against you. I think that one of the problems that people have nowadays is being addicted to image boards, social media, and being online, and they view their interactions with people in a way that is artificial rather than authentic, as it would be if you just ran into somebody and talked about something you're interested in for 20 minutes. I think it's fine to go on image boards and forums and that sort of thing from time to time, but I do think it is imperative on everybody that if you feel bad, to spend less time online, because I don't think spending more time online is going to help you. I say all this in relation to this particular person, there's no real word that I can use to describe him that is not going to be picked up by YouTube. And now is the time when they go crazy with censorship. It's right now. It's not, a week from now or whatever when somebody writes an op-ed. No, it's right now. They already know. It's already built into the system that when an event like this occurs, especially when there's a memo put out by the person in question, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Whenever that happens, like it did in New Zealand, and so I came up with a term for this, just for the sake of it actually talking about what happened, because you can't say something church something anymore, which is what it's known as. You can't say that anymore on YouTube, or else you're going to be delisted, deboosted, suppressed. I've had people say to me recently that they've been having difficulties finding some of my edgier videos. They can't find them. I had a rant against Boogie or somebody a while back, and somebody said they literally couldn't find the video on my channel. Like, they looked for it on my channel, they searched it on YouTube, they couldn't find it. I had to send them the link, and they swore to me they just couldn't find it. I had 2 people say that they got unsubscribed from me, and I'm not going to say, check or whatever, because that's going to make me sound like I'm promoting my own channel on a video like this. But even in my own case, I was subscribed to Soph, the YouTuber that just got banned off of YouTube. And I noticed from watching her new video, when she linked it on Twitter, or somebody linked it on Twitter, that I was unsubscribed from her, that I had missed a few videos from her. And also American Krogan. I got unsubscribed from American Krogan as well, and I had to resubscribe, and I missed like 5 videos of his. And it doesn't mean that I agree with every one of his points, but it's just a matter of there's people with more controversial views, and you can't even watch them on this platform anymore. Soph got banned because of a very controversial video she just did. And it's not to say that every point of hers was right in that controversial video she did, but it is to say that it is worth considering. And, so, if you disagree, the proper way to deal with what she said is to retort. It's to respond. It's to debunk what she had to say, or at least argue it. It isn't for YouTube to ban her channel so that and scrub her video so you can't even talk about it, But that's the current state that we're in, and it worries me. I know that I put out my pithy comments on Twitter about how, the solution to this is, censoring people and opening the borders, which is what I tweeted at David French. I deleted a video just recently ripping on him just because I wasn't very firm in my footing in terms of the argument I was making, so I decided to scrap that video because maybe I'll talk about him at another time, because I do think there is something to be said about David French. But when it comes to him, when it comes to all these people that I'm seeing online talking about this, it's like this guy left a memo. You can read his memo, you can find it, you can read what he has to say, and if you read his memo, and this guy was young, I think he was 21 is what I saw on Twitter anyway. This is a young guy, and if you read his memo, you can tell from the writing that this guy is a freshman. This guy is amateurish, a novice at politics. He very clearly doesn't have a very big vocabulary. He doesn't really understand the concepts that he's talking about very well. It looks like something that someone else wrote, and he is just copying down. That's what I mean by freshman. Like, none of it seems like it's very well thought out. And it's not to say this guy was necessarily dumb, but it's to say that I don't really think he had a very firm grasp of the politics that he was espousing, because it's not even like the others, as far as I can tell, like, where it's full of memes and shit. I haven't really seen anything from this particular memo that would indicate that. Maybe there's more to it that I haven't seen that has that in it. But from what I read, it just seems to me that this is a guy that was surrounded by negativity. He just reflexively took the politics of the people around him, and rather than do something intelligent about what he was concerned about, he decided to just, take the black pill, so to say, to just be a lazy, nihilistic fag, and think that hurting people was going to do anything. I really don't think that him doing that is going to accomplish anything at all whatsoever. I really don't think so. I really think that in order for us to deal with the issue of immigration, which is what he repeatedly talked about, in order to deal with that issue, it requires political power. That's the only actual way to do it. Running around and at random hurting people is not going to solve that issue. Spending every waking moment online on image boards is not going to solve that problem. When you look at the left, they have spent decades campaigning, infiltrating, working their way within the system, and doing what is necessary, doing the groundwork, doing the work to actually achieve what they want. Now, it also does, as even the person in question here, as he writes, that it does coincide with what corporations want. But the thing is that just because that's true doesn't mean that you can't actually have the same effect. When it comes to politics, you are going to have unlikely alliances. You are going to find yourself in the position where the establishment may offer to help you because you have like interests. Just because it seems like every corporation is espousing left-wing politics, it doesn't mean that that can't change. And that's why I really disregard the nihilism that I see floating around, because it's like all you're doing is trying to accept the path of least resistance, which is for you to do nothing. Nihilism is the easiest position to take, because it also conveniently for you has you in a position where you can claim to be the moral superior of everyone around you, but at the same time do absolutely nothing to change the world. And it's not just the world itself. It goes from the world to your region of the world, to your nation, to your state, to your county, to your city or town or your neighborhood. When you take the position of, well, things are too far gone, that means, therefore, I can do nothing, that isn't a solution. And to have these people flame out in the way that they do, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't help. And when you're 21 years old, you know, when you're just barely past the age of being a teenager, and you're doing this kind of thing, it forces me to, like I've said repeatedly in this, is to just say, you know, get offline. Spend less time playing video games. Spend a lot less time on social media and image boards. Spend more time doing things in real life. I really think that that is one of the things that needs to be addressed about this. As I joke about it on social media about these shooters not being jocks that are going out and crushing pussy and the rest of it. But it's like, my point in saying that is that these people are sad sack internet junkies. And it's like I say, it's one of the main reasons why I don't go on image boards. I don't go on 8chan, I don't go on 4chan, I don't go on Reddit, I don't go on any image board, any of these forums. Because I don't want to listen to all of these cringy, overly edgy, fucking burnout internet junkies. I don't want to listen to any of them. I don't want to listen to the cringe lord politics. I don't want to listen to their nihilistic bullshit. I don't want to listen to them. You know, yada yada, the world's fucked, demographics are destiny, and oh, I hate Jews. What is the point in listening to those people in that way, where they are not constructive? They're not actually doing anything. They're not actually laying out a plan to engage in politics. They're not politicking. They're not running for offices like some people are actually doing, which you know is cringy. It's actually cringy to try to be the change yourself instead of being online talking about Jews and then being a nihilistic loser, internet junkie. I know that's the hip thing nowadays. But if you actually want to change things, that is what's required. It's required of you to actually do something. To be cringy in donating to a campaign or standing for office yourself or doing something, for crying out loud. Doing something. showing up to a political rally, going to a political party conference or a rally or a fundraising event and talking to your local politicians. I know that's cringe. I understand that the popular thing to be is a fucking wastoid, burnout, loser, freaking neat. I know that's all the rage nowadays, but I really don't think that's actually going to make you happy. And I have to say that if the ideal you is someone that's happy, maybe try to do the things that are going to make you happy. And that doesn't mean that you have to do all the things that one can think of, but it does mean that maybe you should do some of the things, one of the things that could make you happier than you are now. Instead of playing video games, maybe you do what I did, and you work on, getting rid of some lumber. You do some physical work. Then you go for a jog, do something else that's physical. You watch a comedy, makes you laugh. Tries to play down the bad feelings you have towards your shitty job that you're about to lose. The way in which you should handle bad feelings is to deal with them and to get away from the areas that make you feel worse. Because you dying at the age of 21 is not going to do anything. I mean, I have to imagine that these, I don't really feel sorry for these wastoid soy boys. These internet junkie soy boys. I don't really feel very sorry for them, but what I feel sorry for is their families. Because I guarantee you that these people have brothers and sisters, they have mothers and fathers, they have grandparents, they have friends, they have people that care about them. And I imagine that their parents and their family members and their friends don't want to see them dead. They'd rather see them alive and happy. And I'm sure that's something we all want to be. We all want to be happy. And happiness is not going to be found with you at random wielding a firearm. I don't really think that's going to bring you any happiness. Flaming out from life is not going to bring you any happiness. And it's not going to change anything. My solution to these people is to instead try to get off the computer. Try to get off your phone. Stay away from these places that make you feel bad and try to do things that are going to make you feel better. And if you feel bad, try to channel that energy into doing something constructive or productive, something that you need to do. You got to do the laundry, you got to do the dishes, you got to vacuum the carpet, you got to do something. Do that instead. Channel your energy into doing something constructive. And if need be, get away from the places that make you feel bad. If you feel isolated and alone and lonely, talk to somebody. It can be a stranger. You might be, self-conscious, you might be insecure, you might not want to talk to a stranger. Well, do what I do. Imagine yourself as your ideal self and say, well, would my ideal self be afraid of talking to a stranger? No. No one would. To be normal is to have the ability to talk to a stranger. So, talk to a stranger. What is the issue with it? And even in the case that you look cringy or you embarrass yourself, they're a stranger. They don't know you, they don't care about you, and you don't care about them. So what does it matter if you embarrass yourself? However temporarily in front of a stranger, wherever. Let's say a 7-Eleven. Let's say the conversation that I had earlier in the week with a guy that worked at 7-Eleven about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk. Let's say that conversation went bad and I embarrassed myself. Well, who cares? It's just some random guy that works at 7-Eleven. What's it matter if I embarrass myself in front of him? It doesn't. It really doesn't. It's not even about having the self-confidence and, being the Chad and all that shit. It's just a matter of imagine yourself as your ideal self. How would your ideal self act? And act in that manner. If your ideal self is productive, happy, successful, outgoing, what have you, act in that manner. Because once you do, you become your ideal self. And I can't imagine for many people that their ideal self is spending every waking moment online, being a loser, being socially isolated, being somebody who has like all these nihilistic thoughts going through their mind, rushing through their mind, and they think that one act of desperation is going to solve anything politically. No, that's no one's ideal. Except for maybe if you're an Islamist. Maybe consider converting to Islam, so that then maybe that will be your ideal self. But for everyone else, everyone who's not an Islamist, it's unlikely that flaming out is anyone's ideal. And so I would say, rather than do that, try to act in a manner that is different to that, so that you can be happy, so that you can be satisfied with yourself and with your life. Regardless of this person's memo, the points that were made in it are not very well reasoned. Like I say, it's what I would expect from a college freshman. But to the point that is made, I will say that I think one of the remedies to the internet junkie soy boys that run amok and cause chaos and hurt people, one of the solutions we may want to consider is to lower the legal immigration rate from over 1 million a year to 100,000 a year, and to stop having it that it is socially acceptable to demonize white men, because I do think that it is socially acceptable to demonize white men. Always remember that so long as you're dealing with people that are not evil, you shouldn't treat them as such. And I don't really think there's much in the way of an argument or evidence to say that white men as a demographic in America are evil. I don't really see sufficient evidence for that. Because of that, I don't really think it's right to demonize white men as a demographic, and that's, separating it from just the position of you shouldn't demonize anybody. It's to say that, on top of, the fact you shouldn't be doing this to anybody, you shouldn't be doing it to a group that isn't doing anything, that isn't really a one homogeneous mass, doesn't see itself as that. And those that do see whites as a homogeneous collective, they are so fringe that they are relegated to, once in a while going on CNN, websites no one reads except for, random wastoids that are on image boards 24/7. And otherwise, people that just don't have any kind of political strength. They're so fringe that without someone like me even referencing them, no one would be. I don't think that it is right to demonize white men, and I think that we should discontinue doing so. I am not sure what can be done to stop the social acceptance of the demonization of white men, but I do think that it is something that should be talked about more. And I realize that it's something that, whether it's the center or the right, that many people are not comfortable with dealing with. They're not comfortable dealing with the issue. But I do think, regardless of their inability to deal with it, it needs to be talked about. I think we need to talk about the demonization of white men and the fact that it's not good. I don't think it's right for people to be engaging in that. And in the United States and across the West even, it is ubiquitous. It is everywhere. It's constant, every day, just every single day of the week. You see random celebrities, random people, no names, all the way up to A-list celebrities. You just see politicians and many people that you wouldn't expect to be racist to be demonizing a demographic. And I have to say that the first step in trying to counter that is to make it socially unacceptable. And I don't really think that you can do that with just empty talking points. I think you're going to have to take the stance of it being morally unacceptable. that you should not be demonizing white men. And it's going to require people that are already in a decently, known position to actually take that issue on. It's going to require them to do that. And so I would advocate, rather than get into semantical arguments about the Second Amendment and all this other shit, if you are somebody with a platform, if you're somebody in a decent position, if you have a decent following, rather than get into the age-old argument about the Second Amendment and whatever else, why don't you take on the issue of not demonizing white men? Because I do think that actually would have a little bit more substance to it. Because with the Second Amendment issue, you're not the Supreme Court. And neither is the person you're talking to. They're not a justice. So nothing is changing in terms of gun control outside of what happens in random states like New York, where Andrew Cuomo has gone so far in terms of gun control that it's very likely he's going to lose this next election. If the Republican Party in New York can actually find a decent Republican to run, he's done. He's toast. And I know that. I know that based on knowing the politics of the state and knowing how far he's gone. He keeps going with gun control. He's passing more of it. He's signing off on more of it. He's done. If they can find a decent Republican next election, he's gone. That doesn't necessarily mean that Republican is going to be anything other than like what would be considered a rhino or a Kano or, the fake conservative or, a pussy neocon or whatever, globalist. You don't really know who you're going to get. But at least in that way, though, you can lobby that person to act in the way that you want them to. Unlike it would be with somebody like Andrew Cuomo, who doesn't care about what you think. He cares about getting his way and achieving more power for himself and, longevity in terms of his political career. But with somebody who's his political opposite, seemingly anyways, that person is going to likely be more palatable if you are a conservative or someone that doesn't want to run this country into the ground, someone such as myself. In order to change politics, you have to politic. You actually have to do something. You actually have to get engaged. You actually have to try to be productive, be constructive, try to actually convince people of something. And if you're busy insulting them, if you're busy demonizing them, if you're busy, trying to call their place of employment, or swatting their house, or whatever other cringy things people do online, if you're trying to do that, you're not accomplishing anything. That doesn't accomplish anything. Engaging in politics does actually change things. It's just a matter of how much money are you willing to invest? How much time are you willing to invest? How much passion are you willing to invest? What are you willing to do to see political change? And like I say, a gun is not going to change it. Money, sending a check, making a phone call, showing up at an event, socializing rather than being a fucking NEET. Many things can change politics. Many things can help you achieve what you want to see achieved. But being a NEET, playing games, spending all day on social media and image boards isn't going to change shit. So maybe not do that. However, the summary of this commentary is that you should try to better yourself. You should spend less time online. You should get engaged in politics. You should socialize with people. Spend more time outside, not in your house, not in your basement, not on a computer, not on your phone. Spend more time outside. Socialize with people. Understand the fact that you have people that love you and that you shouldn't do stupid things and leave all those people behind. And that we should lower immigration, but also we should stop demonizing white men. Because even if you want to make the argument of crime, the actual incidents, such as what happened in Texas, or wince, what happened in New Zealand, really don't want to play that game. And this is really the thing, and I don't really need to get into it, but it's just a matter of this is a problem that no one wants to really address. No one that says, I want to tackle gun crime. No, you don't. You want to tackle crime? I don't think so. As we have, prison reform, quote unquote, even with the Trump administration. I don't need to get into it, but I just rolled my eyes at it completely. Of prison reform. Yeah, that's going to solve it. That's going to solve the frickin' problem we have. Prison reform, yeah. We're not letting out enough people from prison. That's the issue, yeah. No, I really don't think it is. I think that a lot of what's wrong in America is not the evil cops and not the evil courts. Not to say there's not the problem there, but it is to say that I think a lot that is wrong with America has to do with our culture and our society. And by that I mean our social norms and our morality. A lot of hypocrisy and unwillingness to deal with the real issues that we're constantly skirting around for the sake of political correctness. And even the best and brightest out there that have the biggest platforms, they are not willing to address the elephants in the room. It would be something that you would have to risk your career over in terms of politics or in journalism or what have you. But if the question is raised that, like, oh, these white men, oh, screw the white men, they're doing these shootings. And it's like, okay, 1350. And that isn't even accurate, by the way, the 1350 meme. It's 650. That's accurate. 650. And so the question is, well, does that justify demonization? Or do we actually want to do something about it? Do we actually want to try to change our country so that we don't have generation after generation of 650 forever, or 640, 650, whatever it is, 6 almost 50? I guess would be the most accurate way of putting it. Do we actually want to change that outcome? What can we do to change it? Pouring money into education, I don't think is going to solve that problem. The state being the father, I don't think is going to solve that problem. But it is just a matter of addressing reality as it is and dealing with the fact that it is a problem. And you can demonize white men all you want to, but it ain't going to change those freaking statistics. It really, really isn't. You are going to have your occasional soy boy incident where some internet chunky finally flames out from life. We are going to keep having those. So long as nothing changes. So long as we're not addressing any issues and we're skirting past some big problems. But it has to be something that's addressed. And unfortunately, as you can tell by the way that I'm framing this commentary, it's something you can't do on YouTube anymore. Especially after an incident like this. You can't address it accurately. You can't just say what you have to say and put it all out there. Because then you'll be like Soph the other day. You'll get taken down, you'll be gone, and no one will know you. You'll be dead, buried, you'll be done. And is anyone else going to step up? Is Steven Crowder going to take this on in a real way? Is Ben Shapiro? Is David French going to be tweeting out some red pills and truth bombs? I don't think so. And unfortunately, that's just the way things are at the moment. And it's just because we have too many people that understand fully what the issues are, and what's going unsaid, but that they see themselves as being in the position where they have too much to lose. They have everything to lose, and they're unfortunately unwilling to delve into the matters that would actually raise the questions that are necessary to deal with the problems at hand. That, like I say in this commentary, it's not a matter of, oh, let's argue about the Second Amendment again. It's not that. It has nothing to do with, oh, all you needed there was a good guy with a gun. It's like, okay, well, how about rather than we have a good guy with a gun, which is just whatever, that's just random happenstance, we're not going to have an official policy to literally arm everyone even more in Texas. They're already armed there in Texas. I don't really think it's a problem. I really don't think, even in the case of I support removing certain gun laws, I don't think it's going to solve that problem. I think addressing the person pulling the trigger, maybe we should try to tackle that. And it isn't just foisting more money into freaking Medicaid or something. That's not going to solve the problem. It's societal. It's culture. It's that. And one of the big ones out of the gate is just demonization of white men, based on multiple people that have been involved in criminal activity that hurt people at random instances. That seems to be a reoccurring theme. Being a neat, internet-addicted loser, soy boy, is another, in my view, correlation. Because like I say, it's not jocks. It's soy boy neats that are doing this. That is something that can be tackled. It's just a matter of how. How do we get the soy boys off of 8chan and 4chan and have them go outside? How do we have them go out and socialize? How do we have them go meet with their family? Do something that they like that is not being online. How do we encourage them to get offline? Censorship, I don't think, is going to solve anything. But that is my solution. That's what I'm offering. Try to find a mechanism by which to get these people offline and doing something else, and hopefully productive, with their time so that they feel better. But I will leave it there for you to discuss. Thanks for listening.